Today we are going to recap a 2013 movie titled 3096 Days. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, we are introduced to Natasha, who is 10 years old. She was with her father in a nightclub, where she was happy and enjoying herself. We understand that her parents are no longer together. Natasha's father was so drunk that night that he forgot to send his daughter home early because she had school in the morning. Then, late at night, he took her back to her mother's house. Natasha only slept 2 hours, and then her mother came to wake her up so she could go to school. Natasha tells her mother that she is still sleepy. Her mom tells her that nightclubs are not for kids. She tells her that if she goes to nightclubs again, she will not let her go out with her father. Natasha told her mother that her father loves her and wants to make her happy, unlike what her mother does. The mother becomes angry with Natasha and resorts to physical violence. But she feels wrong and tries to apologize to her daughter. But Natasha takes her bag and goes to the school. As she walks down the road, a man gets out of a car and kidnaps Natasha. However, a little girl was present and witnessed the kidnapping. The kidnapper then takes Natasha to his home. When he entered the house, he put Natasha in an underground room and locked the door on her. Shortly after, Natasha regains consciousness. She found herself in a small, isolated room, and it was locked. It dawned on her that someone had kidnapped her. The kidnapper approaches her, takes her bed, and then leaves. Natasha was screaming and trying to make noise for help. However, Natasha's efforts proved futile when she discovered that the room was soundproofed. The room had no way out except for a small ventilation hole. 3 days after her kidnapping, the person who kidnapped her, whose name was Wolfgang, comes and brings with him some food and some storybooks. When he entered the room, Natasha was afraid of him and did not say anything. He read the stories to her, and after he finished, he wanted to go out. However, Natasha requested a kiss on her forehead, a custom her mother had instilled in her. He was hesitant about it but kissed her on the forehead and walked out. The following day, Wolfgang was watching the news about Natasha's kidnapping. His mother was also at home. She visits him most of the time to cook for him and clean the house. Wolfgang's mother saw the news of the girl's kidnapping and was surprised. She inquires with her son about the identity of the kidnapper. He informs his mother that the person who abducts such a child lacks mental stability and will undoubtedly face arrest in a short time. After his mother cleaned and cooked for him, she left the house. Wolfgang goes to Natasha to wash her hair. But Natasha asked him to deliver a message to her mother. The letter's content confirms Natasha's good health, alleviating her mother's concerns. But he refused and told her that he demanded a ransom from her family, and if they really loved her, they should pay the ransom. He told her that he had notified them, but they did not respond to him. By that, he means that her family does not love her. However, she began to lash out at him, accusing him of being dishonest. He could not stand it, so he drowned her with soapy water. Before leaving the room, he asked her to clean it. And he tells her that if she does not clean the room, he will kill her. One day, Wolfgang, his mother, and his grandmother were sitting in the garden. The police come to the house and ask to search it because there is a girl who witnessed Wolfgang kidnapping a little girl. After conducting a thorough search, they found nothing suspicious. The police asked him where he was at the time of the incident. He informed the police that he was asleep at the time of the incident, which led to their departure. In this scene, Natasha was filled with sadness as she missed her parents deeply. During this time, Wolfgang enters and brings food with him. Natasha requests that he procure a watch for her, enabling her to track the passing days and determine the duration of her abduction. Indeed, he agrees to that, but he had a condition. The condition was to obey his words. Indeed, she agreed. Then he made a communication device between them. Unexpectedly, Natasha asks him, "Do you feel lonely like me?" However, he remained silent and departed without responding. All night long, Wolfgang pondered over Natasha's question and the motivation behind it. However, he received no response. On the morning of a new day, we learned that he had successfully passed the Natasha 183 kidnapping test. We see Natasha adjusting to the situation. She was engaged in a playful game within the room. She was acting out her role as the professor in the room. Next, she drew a cat on the wall. Wolfgang began communicating with her through the device he placed on the wall. He instructed her to clean her teeth and asked her to follow his instructions. In fact, she does what he asked of her. In this scene, Natasha was applying some food to her hand to trick Wolfgang into believing she was suffering from a skin disease. When Wolfgang came to her, she told him that she had a skin disease and that he needed to go to the doctor. But he held her hands and knew it was a trick. When he found out that she was trying to deceive him, he decided to punish her. He decided to deprive her of food for 4 days. In these days, Natasha drank only water. She was extremely exhausted and lacked any energy. Wolfgang talks to her through the device and asks her to abide by orders and not disobey them. Natasha, fearing punishment, agrees. 4 years have passed since Natasha's kidnapping. Natasha was in an unstable condition and started to look pale in the face. She also lost weight. Natasha has reached puberty. She asked Wolfgang to go to the bathroom in the house to take a shower and see sunlight for the first time since her kidnapping. Indeed, he agrees to her request, but warns her that he has placed explosives on the doors and windows in case she tries to escape. Indeed, Natasha was able to take a shower and see the sunlight. In this scene, we see Wolfgang's mother glimpse a hair on Wolfgang's clothes. Her happiness stemmed from her belief that Wolfgang had a girlfriend. This indicates that Wolfgang suffered from a psychological condition, and his mother was aware of it. But Wolfgang was angry. So he decided to shave all of Natasha's hair. The kidnapping took place 1837 days ago, on Christmas Day. Natasha, wearing a crown on her head, was filled with happiness. And she started celebrating alone. Suddenly, Wolfgang enters, bringing a camera and gifts. He asked her to open the gifts he had brought her. When she opened the gifts, Wolfgang would photograph them. The gifts were 3 books. Natasha was overjoyed by the gifts. And they were celebrating together. Natasha asked him to let her call her parents. However, he refused, expressing his anger, telling her to forget her parents, treating them as if they had passed away, and announcing that her new name was Vivi. In this scene, Natasha is helping Wolfgang renovate her room. Natasha then asked Wolfgang to go outside and take a look at the house's garden. Indeed, he agreed to that, but tied her hands to his own. She accompanied him outside to inspect the garden. Suddenly, Wolfgang dragged her into the house and began to treat her very harshly. He threw food on the ground for her to eat, treating her like a beast. 2029, days after Natasha was kidnapped. Natasha goes out for the first time with Wolfgang to the supermarket. But he threatened her and told her that if she asked anyone for help, he would kill her. He also informed her that he was carrying a gun. As they entered one of the stores, Natasha was observing the people with a sorrowful expression on her face. She was at a loss as to how to seek assistance or make an escape. Then Wolfgang arrived and brought paint with him, so they could paint her room. And then they went home. Upon their arrival, they were actively engaged in renovating the room. The kidnapping occurred 2,175 days ago. When Natasha first saw her room, she was overjoyed. In this scene, Natasha was listening to her story on the radio. She learned that her parents thought she had died. Natasha asks Wolfgang why he kidnapped her and why he didn't kidnap anyone else. He told her that he had seen her in a store. She was smiling and eating cookies. And he tells her that he liked her, and because of that, he had been digging for 8 months to build a room. Then, he kidnaps her and transports her to the designated room. One day, Natasha decides to commit suicide and sets fire to a number of toilet papers inside the room. However, the smoke became unbearable for her, prompting her to extinguish the fire. When Wolfgang learned of the attempt, he beat her. Natasha then counted the number of times Wolfgang would hit her. She used to record these incidents on tissue paper and store them in a box for safekeeping. And after the passage of 2,847 from the kidnapping. On this particular day, Natasha was accompanied by Wolfgang to go skating. At first, Natasha fell easily because of her light weight. But after some time, she could skate. Natasha was waiting for any opportunity to escape. Natasha tells Wolfgang to go to the bathroom. And when she went into the bathroom, Wolfgang was waiting for her outside. Natasha finds one of the girls in the bathroom and asks her for help. But unfortunately that girl is a foreigner and does not know the language. Natasha emerged from the shower feeling sad. She then went home with Wolfgang. When they arrived, Wolfgang beat her because he had discovered that she had tried to escape and asked the girl in the bathroom for help. 3,096 days after Natasha was kidnapped. This period is about 8 years and 4 months. Wolfgang asked Natasha to help him clean his car. The reason he wanted to sell his car was because he had lost his job and had no money. And while Natasha was cleaning the car, she saw the door of the house open. So she took advantage of the opportunity and escaped. She then made her way to one of the nearby houses. She requested that they inform the authorities. Fortunately, the police were nearby. And Natasha was delighted when she saw them. She revealed all the details to the police, identifying herself as Natasha, the victim of an abduction 8 years prior. And when Wolfgang learned of Natasha's escape, he went to the train tracks, stood in front of the train, and committed suicide. The police informed Natasha's family that they had found their daughter. The parents were in disbelief. When Natasha's parents arrived at the police station, they saw their daughter 8 years after her kidnapping. Natasha was in a very difficult situation. Natasha wasted 8 years of her life because of the madman Wolfgang. Thank you for watching. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.